last night.
That's the matter for the coroner.
I'm afraid that's not the end of it. His heart was carved from his chest.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 mystery thriller The Pale Blue Eye. The film is co-written and directed by Scott Cooper, who has previously brought us films like Hostiles and Crazy Heart, and it stars Christian Bale, Harry Melling, Simon McBurney, Timothy Spall, Toby Jones and Gillian Anderson. Now the film is set in 1830 and it focuses on an army barracks that has been the site of a murder, a hanging. This body has been desecrated in a sense of it's had its heart removed also, and they call on the renowned detective Landor, played by Christian Bale, to come to the barracks and solve this despicable crime. Whilst there, Landor makes the acquaintance of Cadet Edgar Allan Poe, who Landor enlists the help of in order to get someone within the barracks in order to get information to him that may help him solve the crime. Along the way, things unravel, mysteries are discovered, and more brutal crimes are committed. Right, what are my thoughts on The Pale Blue Eye? Well, this is a film, I saw the trailer of this, I don't know, a couple of months ago, a teaser, and then the main trailer a few weeks after. And it looked right up my street, this one. Now, Edgar Allan Poe in the last few years has been subject to quite a few movies with him in the films. We had The Raven with John Cusack. We had The Raven's Hollow, which was last year. And now we have this one, The Pale Blue Eye. Now, while this is dated as 2022, that's because it was released in some limited cinemas, I believe in December, but it's now just been released on Netflix at the beginning of January. And I have to say, out of the three of those films that have Edgar Allan Poe in the movies, this is probably undoubtedly my favourite. I don't think this is for everybody. It is quite a slow burn, but it's a very cleverly made film, in my opinion. It's a film that feels like when you're watching it, it's following a fairly similar pattern. You've got a detective trying to solve a crime, he's interviewing people, he's following up clues, he's building relationships, and then you've got this Edgar Allan Poe character thrown into the mix that spices up the film, gives it some more charisma and a little bit more pizzazz, and you've got these other characters introduced that all add a little bit more mystery, and it feels like it's following a fairly predictable and generic pattern, even though it's all brilliantly made and brilliantly performed and beautifully shot. Some beautiful cinematography is on display here. But there was a point in the film when I was watching this, kind of thinking, it's taking a little bit of a convoluted path here. Somewhere in the middle, it gets a little bit soggy. It feels like it's getting a little bit convoluted, but it feels like it's getting a little bit predictable as well. And it feels like you know where the film's going, and then it gives you a good old slap across the face near the end, and says, "No, you're not having it that simple." And for me, that's the massive strength of this film. It lures you into a false sense of security as I say, you start to feel comfortable that what you're watching, you feel is becoming predictable. So you kind of sit back on your laurels a little bit. You're kind of like, yeah, I think I know where this is going, but I'm still enjoying it because it's really nicely made with great performances. And then for me, at one point, I was like, I'm not sure I'm loving this, and then it kind of surprises you. So for me, that really elevated it, this film. Now, what can we say about Christian Bale, really? I mean, I do sometimes think he's underrated as an actor, which might sound remarkable. I mean, he's an Oscar winner. And I think he's one of the, strongest character actors out there. And he's very passionate about what he does, and he puts his heart and soul into his performances. And this is no different. On paper, it probably read as a pretty dour character, melancholy, of brooding almost, you know what I mean? But he brings something extra to this role, Christian Bale, that makes him brilliantly watchable, as always. And I just think he's a really fantastic actor. But for me, the real surprise of this film, and almost steals it from under Christian Bale, is Harry Melling. Now, if he looks familiar, he's from the Harry Potter films, and he has done a few other things over the years, but he's mainly known for Harry Potter. Now, his portrayal of Edgar Allan Poe here is fantastic. I mean, it's really off-kilter, really eccentric, but really warm at the same time and likeable. And most of the portrayals I've seen of Edgar Allan Poe in movies don't portray him that way. They portray him as more heroic, whereas in this he's more vulnerable, a little bit naive, but very, very intelligent at the same time. And I think Harry Melling blends all of those brilliantly. And him and Christian Bale have great chemistry in this film together, because they're almost a double act for the majority of this film. I did make a note while I was watching it that I thought Poe took a little bit of a back seat in the third part of the film. But that was actually done on purpose, I think, to make the ending a little bit more impactful, which I thought was very, very smart. I do think this film is very, very cleverly written, beautifully shot, as I've said, some fantastic cinematography, some wonderful performances. And if you like a good mystery thriller and you don't mind a little bit of a slow burn, and you're prepared for a couple of surprises along the way, then I think you'll really, really enjoy this one. I certainly did. I thought it was really, really good. So I definitely would recommend this one, which is why I've given it the score I have given it. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I do hope you enjoyed this review. I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.